Alright, welcome back to another video on Warhammer 3. And today I'm going to be trying to do a starting guide for Durthu. The reason I'm going to be doing this is just because Durthu, there's a couple things that you need to get in the right order with his start, or it's really hard to get started. So I'll be uh, I'll be trying to give y'all a little heads up on that. The Woodelves campaign is a little different. Your campaign objectives are more tied to the forest health and healing each of the forests. And here I'm zoomed out to where you can see there's several different forests located around the world in this map. So once you heal up the one you start at, you can jump around to the others and work on those. Uh, Meaning you can basically go anywhere you want to after your first starting area. I think it takes about 15 turns before you're able to use the world routes to travel to a different uh, forest. So keep that in mind. You will be stuck in your starting area for a little bit, but that doesn't mean you're tied there for the whole game by any means. So once you start up, you can start your research. I usually start uh, with this first little battle you have here against Cracknorn. And there we go, yeah. So I am trying a different method for recording this video. I'm trying to narrate a video of my gameplay from earlier today. So we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully it'll work out for me, but we'll see when we get there. One important thing of note for Durthu is that all of his tree units will have Vanguard deployment, including himself. So you can take your Dryads, your Treekin, your the big tree, whatever his name, whatever it's called, I can't remember. Uh, the Tree Man. You can start all of those units closer into the enemy armies and help you get into the fight a little sooner. Also gives them less time to shoot at you as you approach. And your Glade Guard that you start with, they will fire on the move. So that's also a nice little bonus for playing this faction. So as my Glade Guard are moving up and they get in range, they will start firing without you having to pick a target. Also, Durthu's Bound spell, the Flock of Ravens, is about the best spell you have. There's that caster you start with, the hero's spell, and you can see it doesn't really do all that much damage. And probably not even 10% damage on the unit it hits. So, I mean, you know, the Flock of Ravens, though, will serve you a lot better early game. And this is just this first battle. It's not anything, really um, difficult by any means. So you should be able to wipe them out pretty easily. those dryads and treekin are just nasty early on in the game. So this is before I've gotten any buffs for them through Durthu's talents and skills. So like I said, they start out pretty decently. And it looks like we're about to wrap this up. They should break any second. And there it is. Alright, so there's our first battle out of the way. Now, for our first turn, you want to do this battle and then go on to Cracknorn and take that fight. I know it says it's probably a defeat if you um, auto resolve that battle, but it's really not a hard fight, and we'll be doing that one in just a minute to show you how easy it is. And looks like I had one loss on this battle here. Durthu did take a little bit of damage from the quarrelers because they really like to target him, but that's not too big of a deal. Alright, and here we go. One thing I will tell you is that with Durthu, you can't recruit for the first 2 turns. So on your main settlement building, feel free to take an income building on the first turn, and then on your second turn, I usually build the building to where I can train these archers. So, and that way, that building will be ready by the time you actually start recruiting, and you should be able to get everything started that you want to that way. Alright, and here we are at Cracknorn. I know it says it's auto resolve, it'll be a defeat, but don't let that scare you. It's not a hard battle. This is on very hard battle difficulty. And I think this is the first campaign I have gone to very hard campaign difficulty, just so that I can move the camera around during the battles without it being all janky. So that's that should be helpful. The camera on legendary difficulty just drives me insane. I don't know what y'all think about it. Personally, I hate it. So here we are on the correct Norton battle, and I like to start all the way on this side. It's in the upper right hand corner of the map, and you put all your dryads and your treekin and Durthu and the tree man up front with their vanguard deployment. And that way you can hit the gate a lot sooner. And I just take all of them and send them straight for the gate. And then you move your archers up to where they're going to be able to arch uh, their shots over the wall. And I usually just let them fire at whatever they want to. I don't even try and tell them to uh, target any specific units or anything. I just keep them in range. And and again, using the flock of ravens, that that's that's probably your best spell at this point until you get your caster hero leveled up uh, to where she can cast heals and whatnot. I think I do end up using her spells a little bit in this battle, but honestly, the flock of ravens is just way better, especially Now you see here, I've broken through the gates, and I start coming through the gate, and as all of my tree units are moving through the gates, they're gonna get bunched up. They're All of the enemy dwarf units are going to come right for you, right inside the gates. And that'll be a really good time to use that flock of ravens. You'll do a lot of damage because there'll be so many units stacked up around there. And there's a pretty decent cast of it. I think ended up hitting 3 or 4 units. I do mess up here and tell my archers to move forward. You don't need to do that. You can wait until you clear these units right by the gate. What's gonna happen here, because I did that, is my archers are going to come through the open gate and try and climb up on the wall, which means they're going to be in melee combat with those dwarves, and that's not a great idea. So just keep that in mind. I tried to use Durthu's bound spell for his whatever that is. It's some kind of missile spell. I don't even remember what it's called. Not really all that worried about it. I don't usually find that spell to be a lot of use, so I'm sorry if my voice sounds weird. I've been a little sick lately, and yeah, it you can probably hear it, but my voice is so yeah, unremarkable to begin with. It shouldn't make that big of a difference, I wouldn't think. So, anyways, we're just, you know, blobbing up here right inside the gate and fighting, letting them fight. And they're going, the Dryads and the Treekin, Durthu, they're all going to be doing their jobs and just wrecking all of these guys. A couple of these units are already breaking, so I mean, like I say, it's not that hard of a fight. Auto resolve is just dead wrong on this, and part of that is because the AI is going to keep a couple units back in reserve to keep you from rushing around and capturing points, I'm sure. But that actually plays into your favor because you can focus on the ones that actually meet you at the gate. So that just helps you win the battle faster. So you end up not having to fight all of their units at once, which makes it take a little longer maybe, but it also makes it easier and you take fewer losses that way. So we're just gonna let these guys continue on with their good work, and oh, there's a flock of ravens. Weird placement on it now that I'm watching this, but uh, seems like it did hit several of their units, so maybe it's okay. Oh, and that minor unit came back just to run away again. And there it looks like we've broken all of their units next to the wall. So at this point you're going to have to advance into the city a little bit and go ahead and break 1 or 2 more units at most, and that'll be the win. They'll get army losses. And this is even with me messing up with my archers, so I took a lot of unnecessary losses to my archers there. It's not a big deal. It, we'll be able to recover from it. You'll have 2 or 3 turns after this battle where they will heal back. So, like I say, not a big deal. Alright, so we're just gonna continue on. This should be over in just a minute. I really love uh, Durthu and like the Tree Men's character models and their attack animations. They're pretty nice. I really do end up liking these guys quite a bit. And I'm basically using the Dryads as a front line, you know. That's generally the way I play Durthu. I, I'll have an archer group and Dryads for a front line, so that may not be the best way to use them, it's just the way I do it. You can do that however you want. I'm just trying to show a few tips and tricks to get you through the first 3 or 4 turns as Durthu so that you can actually get the campaign started easy. I was trying to use that magic missile spell here again, thinking Durthu was tall enough to fire it over that barricade, and apparently it just doesn't work that way. So keep that in mind. Looks like it would work, but it won't. And there it is. There's the army losses, and not too big of a deal. I did take a few losses. I took more than I should have, definitely. But you know, that is what it is, and it'll be fine. Uh, like I say, they'll have time to regenerate the losses in between turns. When you finish this battle, you have the option of clear heathland, which will give you a bonus of 5 to the forest health, and then 1 health per turn after that. So that's a decent option. You also get more money from doing that. Normally, what I do, especially because it's turn 1, um, if you occupy it, then you can build certain buildings in places like that that you occupy that will have bonuses for adjacent provinces. So since my starting area is adjacent to this one, I occupy this one so that I can get the growth and the I think there's I think it's growth and reduced construction cost by 10% is the one I usually take. It'll show it here in a minute. I don't even remember what the name is for it, but that's the one I usually pick. Alright, so it looks like... Oh, here's another thing that's odd about the Woodelves is your main settlement building, you do not have to have population surplus to upgrade that. You have to have the population surplus to build these buildings, your income and your growth buildings. So I'm gonna start the grapevines there for the income because I usually run into money problems with these guys, at least in the early game. So getting that started on the first turn, I'm hoping that'll help um, kind of head that off a little bit. We'll see if it works. But now, this is the end of turn 1, right? I don't recommend taking um, non-aggression packs with Paravon, Carcassonne, any of those, because if you'll notice next to their cities there's a little circle with the roots inside it. That means it's heathland. and you will eventually want to clear all of that or occupy it. So just keep that in mind. Now there are different types. The green roots inside the green background inside the circle, like on Cracknorn, which we just occupied, means that is counting towards the health of the forest, means it's good. Around Paravon, it's kind of white. That means it's neutral. If it's red, it means it's counting against your forest health. So the dwarf faction ones are counting against you. Now here on turn 2, I'm going to use the underway to get Durthu back down into my starting zone. I'm not going to be able to recruit this turn, unfortunately, but so now I'm going to start the building to where I can train the Glade Guards. So next turn I will be able to recruit Glade Guards if I want to. Um, oh, here it is. Now I'm picking Foraging Groves is the one I usually pick. I'm briefly showing what each building does, but uh, I usually pick the Forest Groves for this one. Foraging Groves for this one, so I get the growth in my starting zone. So that's basically all you do on turn 2 is move Durthu back. That's all you're able to do. And go ahead and go to the next turn. Now on your next turn, you need to be sure to move Durthu out of the underway and get him out of that stance so you'll be able to recruit for your next turn. Because you already have a forest invasion coming, and you'll notice I'm moving Durthu towards that. So I'm trying to get him over to that forest invasion as soon as possible, and I'm going to be able to recruit 2 units before I fight that battle, and that's really all you have time for. You could, I suppose, ignore Cracknorn completely, but I don't really feel like you're losing that much turn time going ahead and taking that battle. This battle is winnable with what you're able to recruit in one turn. This is going to be the only time I recruit before that forest invasion. So, I mean, as long as you make it there in time, it will be an ambush, and usually it's not any problem at all. So now I'm showing the forest health there, and uh, well, I don't think I had it up there long enough, but if you look at that in your own game, you'll see that some of the settlement I occupied is counting towards the forest health one each turn. I think battles near the heathlands also count towards the forest health. So that'll all be on that screen though when you look at it. And now I'm going to the next turn. I'm gonna be going into this forest invasion pretty quickly. I mean, alright. So at this point, if I was to end the turn, the entire army would pop up and I would lose the invasion or the ambush on them. So you want to go ahead and take this fight this turn. It's at the start of turn 4. You've got your first forest invasion. And this army kind of varies. This is one of the easier compositions that you'll run into. They'll have 5 artillery. Sometimes they don't have that. And when they have more normal units, it makes this battle harder, but it, you can still get through it. I'm going to show you a little trick here. As long as you're not on legendary difficulty, if you're on very hard or anything lower than that, when you load into a battle like this, I'm going to get all my units set up around them, and then when you hit start battle, up in the top right, you can go ahead and pause it right there. And what that will allow you to do, in any difficulty other than legendary, you can go ahead and tell each unit what you want them to attack. I'm going to show you how you can do that and what you know how useful that is. I normally don't do it. Like I said, I normally play on legendary, but I'm getting tired of the camera mechanics. So, with that being said, I'm gonna show you how I do that. It's a little bit of a cheese on one hand, but on the other, it's also an ambush battle, so I don't really feel like it's that much of a cheese, but you'll see. So I'm putting my archers on the other side away from my front line, so my archers should be shooting into the backs of their entire line. So that only works though if you, like, I put my treekin right there in front of them just to make sure that they don't immediately rush my archers. So that's why I have them over there. And and now I'm gonna go through and position all my units individually. If you don't do this trick, then you don't have time for this, but this is something you can do. And here I'm going to hit start battle and pause immediately. So then you can go through and select each unit, and I'm just going to tell that one to move forward because all those artillery units are so cramped up together. It wouldn't do a lot of good to tell them to attack just one. I don't know, maybe it would, but this is just the way I did it. So the same here, the way we're going into the side of all their units there, just telling these dryads to move forward and lock these units down. Tell Durthu to attack the enemy lord, put the tree man there. Now we're going to put the treekin on different units. I don't know why I'm not already doing that. Give it a second. Apparently I had to think about it. But yeah, so I'm just gonna send the treekin into the infantry line, looks like. Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna tell my Glade Guard to focus on these Thunderers. Or maybe I don't. Maybe I just let them fire at whatever they want to fire at. And you'll see here there's a minor unit there thinking about running straight at my archers, but the treekin are gonna stop them. So that's always helpful. Flock of Ravens is gonna be really good in this battle because everything's crammed in here so tight. So that's helpful. You do need to be aware though that just breaking this army isn't really enough. You want to completely wipe out all of these artillery units because whatever escapes this battle will survive. This army will attack you on the next turn, or after you end your turn. Whatever's left will actually attack you. So they will survive and come back if you let them out of the map. That was kind of a wasted cast, honestly. I mean, that spell's kind of fun, but it really isn't all that effective. And you know, that's basically it. I mean, as far as this ambush goes, it's pretty easy to win, especially if you're setting it up like this and pausing it and telling your units where they need to attack and everything. Here I realized I'm gonna need to use my archers to try and wipe out those siege engines, siege units, uh, because I really don't want to fight them on an open field battle. That just makes it into a pain. So, um, there is one other tip I am pretty sure I'm gonna show you here, and that is when it comes to running down enemy units that are broken after the battle. I'm going to take my Glade Guard and just tell them to start moving this way. And the reason I'm doing that is because they will fire on the move. So while they're running this way, they're also shooting that unit, that damaged unit that's pretty close to them there. So you'll get a lot more work out of them than if you tell them to attack a specific target, because they will stop and fire if you do that. But if you tell them to run, in the same general direction as the unit that's running away, they will keep running and be shooting at them while they're running. So they'll never get out of range, especially a melee unit like this. Although one of my Glade Guards did actually stop there, which is unfortunate, but it'll be okay. So that's what they're doing. They're just, they're gonna keep running towards where the enemies are running to, and they'll shoot the whole time. You'll actually wipe out more enemies that way. And I mean, that's pretty much it. That should get you started on the Wood Elves. Um, like I said, keep in mind it says 66 remaining. They will come back and attack you on the next turn. After you end your turn, they will suicide on you. So you just be ready for that. So my answer to that is to move just back inside my own territory so I can start recruiting for the next turn, and just sit there and wait. And on this particular one, it's not always this way, but on this particular one, I could have chased this army down probably and probably wiped them out on my turn, but I didn't feel like there was any need for that because I know they're gonna suicide attack me anyways as soon as I hit end turn. So that is something to keep in mind if you don't do a very good job at wiping them out, wiping out their units. That the follow-up battle may be a little more serious. For this, whatever's left out of this, I'll just auto-resolve it. It's not a big deal. That the only other thing I think I can touch on for the Wood Elves is it takes a few turns for you to get the missions, but you'll get missions to where you'll be able to confederate with the other Wood Elf factions that start around you. I think one of them is to win 3 battles against Greenskins, which is, all in all, a pretty easy thing to do if you can find Greenskins. Yeah, you see, I could have reached that army, but I'm not going to do it. I just move back and recruit because they will come get you. But yeah, one of the missions is to defeat Greenskins in battle, but there's really not that many Greenskins around you, so that is actually kind of a pain. I think another one was. I thought another one. Oh yeah, another one is to win like 3 battles against Bretonians. So And if you do that mission, you'll be able to confederate another faction. But at least in my playthrough, Orion is being unbelievably aggressive, and I don't know why. But it seems to be, you know, the way they're programmed now is to be more aggressive. As I saw in my Empire playthrough, they took all of this. So by the time I'm ready to come over here and attack Paravon and I have that mission, well, Orion's already wiped them out. So at that point, I'm either going to have to trespass on him and go through him to fight Bretonians or just not do it. Um, I don't know what your decision on that will be. To me, it was pretty annoying, but and here's that army suiciding. I just auto resolved it, take the money. But that's I think that's all the tips I've got for you on this. Oh, one other thing. You raise the forest health to 100 and you will get a buff to your faction if you complete the ritual to heal it. Each forest has a separate buff. Th- I urge you to go through and look at what each buff is and see which one you want to go for. That may help you plan out your campaign in the long run and see what you want to work towards. Um, but yeah, I think that's about all I have for you. I really can't think of anything else that I could share for this video. After you get to this point, though, I mean, it's up to you. I just find that these first 3 or 4 turns are really annoying if you don't do it exactly right, and it just turns into a mess. So, that's all I've got for you. I hope you liked it. I hope it helps you. Leave me a like, comment, subscribe, all that fun jazz, and I'll see you next time.